trying to find a way, 'cause we gotta be here anyway.
Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Okay. True story. Every year I come and I do this, my favorite Comic-Con, Rose City Comic-Con, and I say to myself, I'm not quite sure how I got this lucky in life. The conversation I just had backstage with Dominic is absolutely unreal. This show, the show Preacher, if you've not seen it, which I know you have. Oh, I know you have, has everything that's in my wheelhouse. You've got angels, you've got demons. It's a bit like Neil Gaiman sort of meets something like Pulp Fiction, sort of meets something that is off the wall dark comedy, and all of it works for me. So why don't we put it together and give a very, very big welcome for Dominic Cooper. Come on out.
Yum. Is that the one?
You can sit wherever you want. I'm going to take this side chair right here.
This is nice.
So why don't we tell the story about why we're wearing
Nut.
badges? No, I'll skip the nuts. Thank you.
Okay.
You cheeky bastard. So let's...
Why?
I'm teasing. He is the best.
Simply a nut.
I had so much fun with you backstage.
We did have a nice time.
We did have a nice time.
What did we talk about?
We talked about... Well, guys, I think here in a little bit, we should have him try to play my didgeridoo. What do you say?
Ooh.
Will you do it? Will you do it?
I think I can.
Okay, all right. This is interesting to me as we...
It's very loud, isn't it?
It is loud, but before it wasn't loud enough and we couldn't hear the questions.
Oh, I see.
So now it's really
So you've gone
loud.
louder.
Yeah.
Got it.
He's a riot. Apparently they gave him a golf cart, which was maybe a mistake, I don't know, but they also
And
gave
a
him
radio.
a radio, which
I
is
can
going
communicate
off.
with the whole backstage.
Someone right now is like,
Stephanie, can you hear us over?
if I had a radio, which they don't give me, I would reply.
No one's replied.
And he also is wearing his badge, so that's why I decided to wear mine in
Part
solidarity.
of the staff, and I'm having a really nice time.
We are so thrilled you're here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's wonderful.
If you guys want to ask your questions, there's a microphone there and a microphone there, and I ping pong back and forth. So this is your opportunity to ask this gentleman here a question of your own. I'm a little bit curious. When you first started reading through the script of Preacher, is this what I think it is?
Excuse me.
Okay, this lovely gentleman.
This is more like it.
Can someone get a photo of this? I would
Hey,
like a
there's
photo of
good
this.
wine here, isn't there? This is wine country.
Here, let's cheers.
This is my first taste of a wine from around here. Cheers. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Good.
You're the first guest in the multiple years that I've done this who has said, you know what, we're going to have some wine delivered on stage. So he's my new favorite.
I don't know. Was that me? Did I do that?
Well, whoever did, it's here, and I love
did
it.
do
So
that, you're
thank
right.
you very much for that. What
Nuts
a treat.
and wine. What more do you want?
I want to talk about Preacher because this show is bananas. And I see a lot of people lining up, so we'll get to your questions in just 1 second. When you first started...
He's back. Hey, now.
Oh, my...
What's happening there?
So good. All right, we have to do a group cheers. Group cheers. And
We need to give everyone one, really, don't we?
cheers,
It's a bit
cheers.
rude.
It is, but...
Cheers.
But there just
If it was
wouldn't
up to
be-
me, you'd all have one. Shall we?
Just pass it around. Be like,
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
The show, Nutty. Yeah, apparently we've caused some offence this week. Don't mention that. Is that the look of don't mention that?
You know what? I didn't speak to your agent directly, so
Yes.
you can talk about whatever you want to talk
Okay, good.
about.
Okay.
I am curious, when you first started reading the script, when you started going through it, you knew, based on the roles that you had played previously, that this was definitely for you.
Yeah, well, I didn't quite know what it was that I was embarking upon. I found the script in Ruth, who plays Tulip. Are we talking about Preacher? We are talking about Preacher, aren't we? Yeah, so Ruth's house. I found the script and I said, well, I looked into it and loved it. I said, I'd never heard of it and hadn't heard of the comic. So then I looked at the history of it and...
Isn't that incredible?
And the illustrations and read maybe 3 of the first comic books and thought... And sort of saw a likeness, saw as this demonic, demented character, you know, chain-smoking nutter. And I thought, maybe I could do that. And then, and then I met all the guys, which was one of the most peculiar meetings I've ever had, which is, you know, Seth Rogen sitting there in a haze of smoke, trying to describe, with 4 other producers, trying to describe Preacher as a TV show. And I thought they'd gone mad. I thought they'd actually lost the plot. I thought this was going to end them. They're never going to be able to do it. And it also described that over the last 10 years, people had continuously tried to turn Preacher into a film.
We see that a lot with the sort of stuff we all like, where we're like, come on, it's just got to make it to the screen.
And they were the right people to do it. And even in that sort of haze of foggy, insane smoke, something came out that I believed in, or I just got really stoned as well. I can't tell which. And immediately signed up to it, and then I found myself doing it, and it's been, phenomenally enjoyable. And you just wanted people who were going to make that show to do it justice, to do the comics justice. And so Garth, we wanted him to love it. I wanted him to love the idea of it and the material and the characters. And I think what they had to then do was establish, for an audience who didn't know the comics, who we were and where we came from. And I think that's what they achieved in the first season.
I mean, it's actually remarkable how quickly they reach through the screen. I talked about this in my first panel. We're talking to Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek, and it's that ability to just cut right through. Yeah. That's what makes that show incredibly unique. Let's go over here for our first question, Batman.
Only here would you hear that introduction.
Hello.
Hello.
It may not look like it based upon my identity, but I am secretly a large fan of Captain America, and particularly your portrayal of young Howard. How did you feel coming back to the character for Agent Carter, and particularly the arc toward the end of season 1, where he's kind of imagining this redemption for him? He feels as though he's lost and let down Steve.
Well, it was odd just you mentioning that then, because I haven't thought about it for a while since I ever heard of the idea that they were going to turn it into a TV series. So I'd left it behind him behind quite a long time ago, because he wasn't coming back into the films, only as sort of memories or flashbacks, tiny flashbacks. But it was good to play him in a different light, actually, and sort of see a different side to him. And I suppose the more inventive side and more the playboy side. And I don't know whether it became more caricature, but it was just the opportunity just to, I suppose, I had a few scenes in that first film, but I had to kind of piece together who that man was based on the older version of him or the ideas of him in the comic. So it was really good fun to have, I suppose, a broader arc to explore and to really be allowed to have fun with who that character was. And to not have the guilt of, the whole Steve story, I think, and the way in which the characters relate to one another in the TV show was sort of, had a lighter feeling to it for me. And I was very sad that they didn't continue they didn't continue the TV show. But there's talk of a possible film which may be set in that era where Howard would make a return. So I'm really, really fingers crossed about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What type of actor are you? As I'm listening to you talk about pulling from different sources, are you sort of a more method type of actor? Do you just go in there and wing it? We've got Katie Sackhoff coming up.
Just go in and wing it.
She does wing it like that. She's like, I don't know, I'll just show up and do my thing. So I'm curious where you...
Well, I love that. It depends what the material is, I suppose, but sometimes it's hard. I found I had much more ease, for example, with Howard Stark than I have had with Preacher. Preacher's is just more of a complex, or it's further away from who I am or what I've done. And you have to always push yourself to do those different characters, because otherwise you'll get bored and you'll become stale. So you must always challenge yourself, even if you think you may fail at it. So with Preacher, more with Howard Stark, I would just I came up with an idea of who this person was, and this entrepreneur, and this playboy, and this inventor. And I identified, or I could understand more quickly with who, maybe just from what I'd seen as a youngster growing up, or having the idea of Howard Hughes, just various ideas of the person. Preacher felt very distant in my life, and from what I'd experienced, I'd never come from. Even the landscape of where that man comes from Texas, compared to where I come from. Not just his accent, but just the way he is physically and his emotional state, and harboring the guilt of the death of his father. So they're massive issues, and so you do more work. So I saw a lot of preachers. I listened to material about preachers. I read up on that part of the world. Even though it was a comic, it was still owed a lot of work. I think you can never ever approach work in any less than give it everything and really struggle to make it what it deserves to be, and especially if it comes from such a talented writer as Garth, and from such a beautifully put together graphic comic, and we had a responsibility to the fans to make that as good as those comics were. So I was petrified. My first day of shooting, well, the first rehearsal I went to, I just thought, after that meeting that I mentioned, I thought, what if they really regret this? What if they've all been working on this for years and years, and what if I turn up and I show them? Because I hadn't yet shown them what my version of that man was. And so we were suddenly heading towards the Sony lot in Los Angeles, and we were about to do some scenes with Seth and the producer and the showrunner, and I just had such a panic. I was just like, I wanted to just leave. I wanted to get out of there, because I just thought, they can't now, once they'd committed to me being that part on a meeting and my other work, but I still might have not got that character right. And that was quite a big or frightening moment where I would have done anything to get out of that situation. But it was good, because I challenged myself and I pushed on through, and I hadn't got the accent by then. I wasn't comfortable physically with him. But but that's good. It's good to do that to yourself. And I hope that I've got somewhere where it's feeling more comfortable. And the more shows you do, the more episodes you do, and the further the season goes on, hopefully it'll become more, the more confidence you have with it, the more you can play with it, and the more dynamic it is, and the more exciting the character becomes, you hope.
Yep.
Thank you.
Agreed. That's a sense of
Very
responsibility to a character that's important to people
Yes.
who started with it in the 90s. So thank you for that. The
Yeah.
work that thank you for the work you do on that. Over here, a question from you.
Hello, is it okay if I ask two?
Yeah.
Okay, so my first one is
We're drinking wine. You ask as many as you want. We're here
Yeah,
all
we're just
day.
gonna, yeah.
Cool.
Cheers.
So my first is in one of Eugene's Hell memories. When you showed up in that, how did you guys just not completely crack up on set?
Oh, that awful scene where I'm come out the bathroom.
Yeah.
That scene. I mean, of all the things I've ever had to do, that was awful.
I had a feeling it wasn't too fun.
The girl. What the scene that? Sorry, what's your name?
My name is Sarah.
The scene Sarah's referring to, whether you've seen it or not, is a scene where, in Eugene's hellish nightmare, he pictures the love of his life in a room that I come out of the bathroom, and she then proceeds to touch my unit, touch my wiggly thing. But the thing is, nuts. She was too young. The actress was too young to be allowed to even touch me. So I can't. What did we do? We had to then. I was like, do you need this scene in this thing? I could do anything. So she had to make it look as though she was doing something. Really bad impression. That's not how she did it, or how I do it. And then another actress had to be kneeling there in case the hand came up, I think, or touched me. That was to do with the law. The law. No, it was to do with regulations.
Like, it's so. How do
I can't
you even?
really. I don't know whether I'm telling that story right, or even with my memory. Anyway, it was uncomfortable.
Oh no, we're with you. Yeah, we got that.
It was deeply uncomfortable, but that's how they shot it. And so, what was the question?
Oh, it was just how did you guys just not completely crack up trying to do
No,
that
I wasn't.
scene?
I wasn't finding it amusing at all. It's like there's an underage girl doing that to me now, and I'm having to look like I'm enjoying myself. It was just awful.
And then the second question was, of all the times Jesse's used Genesis, was there one that was your favorite to say?
Oh, mace your balls. I
Thank
think.
you.
Yeah.
Over here for a question.
Hi. Okay, so two questions. One, the dog in the room of
Yes.
ill repute. Now, is the implication that he was God and you blew it? Because I was confused about that.
You
part.
haven't. Have you had the last episode yet?
No. It's on Monday.
Oh, then I can't answer that question.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Could you? Good
'Cause-
for you for having the presence of mind to ask first and going, well, as you saw.
Right, no.
X, Y, Z.
What do you know? What do you think the suit is at the moment?
Well, the dog looked at you.
Yes.
Even though you couldn't see their eyes, and then he looked like, okay, come on. And then you said, no, I don't want any of that. And the dog almost looked disappointed if you could look at a dog that's a person with a thing. There's some furries in here. Where are you? How does this work?
So are you asking what the dog is?
Well, I think the implication is it that you found God actually, and
Stay tuned.
okay, so Monday.
Monday.
Okay, so Monday.
But very good question.
And the other one was I loved you in Mamma Mia.
Oh. Yeah.
And my favorite scene was when you guys came in with the jet skis and you're all on the dock and you were dancing and
Yes.
For
The
this
flipper
kite party.
dance.
That was awesome. So, what was your favorite scene in Mamma Mia?
Well, I kind of like. The whole thing was so much fun. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing there or why I got cast. Or I mean, I shouldn't have ever really been there. How I sang a song, an ABBA song, and
Pierce
was
Bronson,
given the
I mean,
part.
really.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Okay.
That's why I was given the part. Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole thing was quite magical. You know, it was early on. I hadn't done a great deal of work, and I was suddenly on a film set with Meryl Streep and
Right.
Colin on a Greek island, doing stupid dancing and occasionally singing, and rolling around in the sand, eating octopus. It was a time in my life. So I kind of enjoyed it all. And living in Greece for a while. It was, but yeah, and the song I ended up enjoying doing the song because I'd rehearsed it an awful lot. But the whole thing was a joy.
Beautiful.
And I'm going back in a week
All
to
right.
film.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but
So
I'll
it's
let you
going
know.
to be a Mamma Mia 2 then?
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, we're shooting. They're shooting already in London, and then I join them out in another island somewhere, I think. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions, thanks.
When you travel, so you said you lived in Greece, do you take time to try to learn a couple phrases in the language?
Yeah.
Or what was the first thing that you remember teaching yourself how to say in Greek?
Don't remember the Greek stuff. I could do a bit Turkish.
What?
What? Can't remember. Türk olum bil çok başka şey gibi.
Which it means what?
No idea.
Okay.
I always try. And whenever I meet someone who's Turkish, I always give it a go and see if they know what I mean. And
Do
they
they
have
just stare
no
at you
idea.
blankly?
No idea. Where else do I learn a language? I always try and learn yeah.
I have like a set amount of phrases. So
And you remember them all?
Well, no. The only thing I remember in Greek is cute puppy, and that's it.
Oh, that's nice.
Red wine. No
Red wine.
surprise
They
there.
change throughout time as well, the phrases that you learn. See, when I was 16 or 17, my phrases in the other languages would be, would you like to come for a walk with me?
Oh, wow.
But then when you get older, it slowly turns, doesn't it? To more depressing things like cute puppy and give me a glass of wine.
Harutomeno
That's how
skilaki
time
kokino
changes.
grossi. Yeah, exactly. I like it. Over here for a question?
Okay,
Is
so
that
I have to
Cassidy? Is that
ask-
Cassidy?
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah,
yes,
cool.
It is indeed.
You look great.
So I have to ask you,
Yeah.
what are your opinions on the film The Big Lebowski?
Oh.
Is it good or is it garbage? Because I think it's absolute trash.
Do you really?
No.
I think it's excellent. I love that film. I never really understood that storyline in our film, our show. What's being said? They're just constantly arguing about The Big Lebowski. Why? Does anyone think that film's bad? That film's great. Right?
Yeah, it's good.
There's nothing bad about that film.
I agree.
There's
do
nothing
agree.
bad about
The
it.
Dude Abides.
The dude
It's one of the few movies I own.
And then
See, here we are. We're debating again. It's effective. It's effective.
I'm just curious, what was Joseph like on set?
He's an amazing man. And he's just identical to the character. I mean, you couldn't really imagine anyone, you certainly can't imagine anyone else playing him, but he's an extraordinary actor to work with. But he's just full of life and,
Here, get on it. Get on it.
Olivia speaking.
Room B, Bravo 110 needs more water.
Oh, fine. This is awesome.
Tell them they can't have any more water.
Sorry, say again?
Okay, wait. Shh. Okay, everyone, real quiet.
Tell them they can't have any more water.
Staff
That's good.
That is just genius. Genius.
Who's in room 9?
I have no idea. We should go find out in a minute.
They're thirsty.
They are. But did they say water or wine? I'm a little unclear.
I think they said
Thank
water.
you very much for the question. Which side are we on? I believe over
Did
here.
we answer that? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Truthfully, you could turn the water into wine.
Jesus was here.
It's true. So my question is kind of a two-parter. I absolutely loved you in Dracula Untold and all the other work that you have done.
That's where I did the Turkish.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
And they cut it out of the film.
Aw.
And that's why.
But,
'Cause it made no sense. Yeah.
but I absolutely love all the work that you've done, and you always
Thank
bring
you.
a sense of class and culture to what you do.
Thank you.
So I noticed that you do a lot of horror, a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. Do you see that that is a place where you can get away with doing stories that you wouldn't normally think you could get away with in morality tales, which kind of goes into my second part of the question about Preacher, which is I love the comparison between Jesse and the Saint of Killers and how they're both these tortured souls that are desperately trying to find the one thing they love in the universe.
Well, certainly what I love about Preacher is it floats on the kind of line of absurdity and reality. And I think that that's why the show is successful and why people enjoy it. And it's certainly why we enjoy acting in it, because we can play the absurd, but at the same time, we have very dramatic scenes that are embedded in truth, sadness, and being human and alive. Like very simply at the heart of Jesse's existence and self-hatred is the guilt and the blame he feels for the past. And if you've always got that to kind of at your core, then you can do whatever you like, and it can become as absurd as it wants to be. And that's also enjoyable. And then it's wonderful having a huge and whole episode where you're playing out fight sequences and doing parts from very varied genres of film and television. And that's why you get sort of everything. And hopefully the audience is getting that as well. And the first part of your question, you're right. It is an opportunity, as certainly in Preacher, to do all those things, and you rarely get that. And if you go down one path of something or other, and people are really preoccupied with the notion that once you do one thing, that's where you sit, and that's what you are able to do. And I think this allows us as actors in this show to really try and test ourselves in various forms. You know, suddenly you're having to be very funny. Which is a challenge. And then immediately afterwards, you've got a very, very serious scene about your relationship or about the lack of, or your how you are with your family. Something. And for me, they are the most enjoyable scenes. To be quite honest, I love it when it is embedded in reality, and when I feel I'm getting as close to that man as possible, and that people can relate to his issues and the problems that he has. It's been hard, kind of, I suppose, paralleling that with this constant search for God, which feels far removed for me, but I have to somehow make that a reality as well. But it's been complete coincidence that I've ended up in all those particular films that you mentioned. It was never something that I.
No, it's a phone.
Oh, is it? That is nothing that I set out to do, but it's been very enjoyable, and they have you guys. It has the best fan base and the most kind of interactive fan base. I've heard more interesting questions from people at these events, and they know more than anyone from any other sort of form of film or TV I've done. And that's why, going back to what I said earlier, you owe so much to that. What's the word? Just to that much love of that material. You know, the comic book world certainly is something that I didn't grow up reading that many comics. But it's a world in which I'm now very much feel part of, and I always feel very much that I owe it to people who have read those comics, and that those comics have offered so much to those people that we need to do whatever we're putting on the screen justice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to introduce you to Sandman if you're not already a fan.
Sandman.
Yeah, all right.
Sandman.
Question over here for you.
Sandman.
Hey there, thank you for coming here.
Thank you
I've
for
been
having
a
me.
no
Thank-
problem. I've been a huge fan ever since I seen you in the Devil's Double, and I just had one question. Thank you. Since you are familiar with the graphic novel, what was your reaction when you saw the show's version of Humperdoo in full makeup?
Humperdoo in the comic looks identical to one of my friends. I have a picture somewhere, and I thought it would be a great part for him because he's an actor. But then when the Humperdoo that they'd cast turned up, and the reason they cast him as Humperdoo, if you don't know who Humperdoo is, Humperdoo is the great, maybe a few more great grandsons of Jesus Christ himself. But due to the nature of his birthing, how can I say this? What? His inbred. And that's Humperdoo in our show. And they cast this Humperdoo, this particular Humperdoo, who's a very good-looking man, who's the lead singer of a band who's quite well known, the name I forget, but who I'd worked... Well, who is it? All American Rejects. Very handsome man, right? Who I'd worked with before. And the reason he's brilliant, but they wanted to cast the same person that would play Jesus Christ as would play his great-grandson. And he could do both. And he did both really, really well. So I actually thought it was very clever. But it didn't look anything like the version in the comic. Who looks like my friend? How many people have I offended?
Just speaking some truth here, between the accent, your descriptions, and when I look at the awkward things you've had to describe between the underage girl and how he got to where he is, I could listen to this all day, which is saying something given the topic matter. I like it. Over here for a question?
Do you find yourself seeking roles where you get to use a different speaking voice, or is that just kind of something that's happened?
It's something that's happened. No, I don't. I can't bear it. I think it's just another nightmare that I have to engage upon. But it is helpful. I mean, it's good because it immediately gives you another character very quickly. But also, again, it's another thing that you can't take lightly. You have to really, really work on it. And what it does, the things I've learned about it are, it's not just the accent, it's not the sound, it's the rhythms in that voice, it's the way, it's the differences in how people are in space, the length of sounds, the rhythms of sounds. It's not just the accent itself, and they're the mistakes I've made. It's very funny. It's interesting watching stuff back and going, that's not good enough, and I'm very particular. And the moment, if you're an audience and you don't hear that accent to be perfect, you don't believe it, and therefore it's kind of ruined. So I really wanted people to be really, really honest with me, and to keep being honest with me, and to keep saying, if it's not absolutely perfect, then you have to tell me. And they keep trying to get rid of the dialect coach. They're like, you only need them for like 3 episodes, don't you? I was like, no, I need them there all the time. I'm not from there, so I need someone to hear if I'm doing it right. So, and she was particularly good on the last season, so I hope, but there's still things I want to make better.
Now, are you self-conscious about your own voice now?
Always. Thanks for that.
What is it like working with a dialect coach? So where does a process like that start for you to pick up and immerse yourself in a language and a cadence that becomes effectively flawless?
Well, for this, again, going back to that moment at the Sony lot of me having a nervous breakdown, not knowing whether I should be playing this part or not, I worked intensively and in the most terrified way, just trying and trying. And this particular man, I don't know, he just didn't really work. I wasn't getting it, or he just wasn't very positive about what I was doing, which was really frightening me. And I was getting closer and closer to that day where we would rehearse, and closer to the filming. And I was like, well, I was listening to loads of podcasts. I listened a lot to Coach Taylor. Is it Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights, that show?
And then do you try to emulate it and repeat back what you're hearing?
You can't emulate it. You've got to find your version of it. But they kept asking me to do less and less in terms of how strong that particular text and accent was. because that's how they felt he should be. And then on this, I did a lot of prep work, and then I requested, and they really don't like this, and they try as hard as they can to not have this, because it costs them a lot of money to have on set every day while you're doing the scenes, to have someone listening in. And by maybe episode 5, you don't need one so much, but it just gives you confidence that you're doing it right, and to have someone around to support you and be, and every so often mention but you're getting it slightly wrong, and you're hearing something or not quite, there's something that's just not quite right, and you have to keep working on it and never relax about it. Again, you owe it to people who are watching it, and you owe people who are paying for it, and who want to be immersed in the reality of it. And if that's something you hear my English accent pop out while I'm being a Texan preacher, it ruins it. So it's constant work, although you get more and more lazy as the show goes on, because you're knackered and you're doing your 14 hours, days, and your time becomes more precious. But you have to keep working on it, and it's to do with sounds, and you get more and more used to it. Your mouth becomes used to it. That's what happens. But I'm not someone who does it throughout the filming day, because I feel like it's a bit fake. So if we're not shooting and someone comes up to me and wants a chat, I feel it would be odd for me to carry on doing a Texan accent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, when you read
that's not me.
When you read the script, do you read it in with the
Yes.
Texas? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I like it. Over here for a question.
Thank you for answering my questions earlier about Stratton when I came and did my autograph.
That's
It's
quite
an
all right.
amazing movie.
Thank
But
you.
I was wondering if you had any fun behind-the-scenes stories when you were filming.
I'm not repeating the one I told you earlier.
No.
I can't.
I'll keep that to myself.
Yeah, that's a secret.
From Dracula.
One of the cast pooed themselves while I was working with them.
We won't name
have to
names.
We
tell.
won't name names. No, I
have
can't.
to.
But the guy who I've said it's a guy now, the guy told you when you asked him about the film, he said he didn't remember ever shooting it.
No, he
So
had
I don't
no
feel
idea.
bad about saying this. And you won't see the film anyway, or you might when it comes out. But don't remember I said this. We were filming.
Wait, shh. Carry on.
And he fell asleep and pooed himself. In the middle of a scene, I was talking to him. Which either my acting was extraordinarily boring. I feel really bad. That never happened.
Except that one time.
Yeah. That's the behind-the-scenes story there.
Yes, I was asking if you had one from Dracula.
They're obviously very good.
Well, actually, Luke Evans. No, I don't have one. I can't remember it. I do remember it. Do I have
He was
one?
the guy in that one then.
No. I'm terrible with behind-the-scenes stories. I never really know what to say. Nothing. The truth is, nothing very interesting happens. And I know it might seem like it really does, but genuinely, it's never that exciting. Well, it's Joseph Gilgan in Preacher. Why am I all potty stories? He weed himself when he was in a hole, and he was in an outfit, and he just couldn't. I can't remember. He was in a hole with a cow, and the cow was on top of him.
Season
and
premiere.
he needed a wee. Yeah, season premiere. Yeah. So he just weed himself.
Thank you.
It's quite all right.
She thanked you. Thank you. Thank you. Over here for a question.
I guess this is good timing. I have a question about Stratton.
How do so many people know? How do so many people know about this film?
Your dialect coach is like, lower the octave.
One of the opening scenes gave me a panic attack, so I was just wondering, how long were you and Tyler Hoechlin underwater?
Oh, yeah, that gave me a panic attack as well when I saw. To explain this, what is your name?
Jerry.
The way I do that. What is your name? Jerry. Jerry's referring to a film that I did where I play an SBS, which is called a Special Boat Service person, which is the same as the Navy SEALs. So Tyler was a Navy SEALs operative, and in England they're called Special Boat Service. It doesn't sound nearly as sexy, I know. Which is why there's no films made about them. But anyway, I play someone from the Special Boat Service, and they do a lot of work with water. They do a lot of this particular scene at the beginning of this film. We're breaking into a chemical weapons plant in Iraq or somewhere, I think. And I did some scuba diving training, and we have to swim through these pipes. And they built this quite elaborate set of tubes in a pool. And it was horrifying because I'd only just learnt to use the mask, so I really enjoyed it. But we were in there for 2 days straight. And once you were in, you couldn't really get out. And then so we were cutting through wire mesh within these steel tubes that were filled to the brim with water. And the scene what unfolds in the scene is that we run out of gas, of air, and can no longer breathe. And we have to swap air apparatus underwater, which is something that those guys do all the time, while carrying all the weapons in the wetsuit. And yeah, that's the scene. And it gave you a panic attack, and it gave me one too. Yeah.
It's freaking terrifying.
Yeah. It was,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, okay. I'm not even claustrophobic, and I'm trying to unpack that. I'm a decent swimmer, and I couldn't do it. It would mess with me.
It was odd.
Yeah. Okay. Odd. Go ahead over here.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thanks. Good to be here.
How's the wine?
It's
really
amazing.
Nice, actually. It's a screw top.
We do that a lot. We do that a lot here because of the cork issues. So.
What are the cork issues?
It's a part of it was originally predicated in conservation of the trees, and then also there is apparently, I don't know, some science behind you can preserve better the wine actually with a screw top than you can with a cork.
Yeah. And what do you believe?
I like a screw top because I don't need an opener, which I can't take on my carry-on.
So quick.
I've thought of it.
And tell me this. Are corks not made from
I think the issue is with how quickly they were going through them, as wine consumption is like quadrupled in the recent times. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's very popular. Millennials love it, so they say, I don't know, I'm old.
So it's got popular again?
Yeah. 9 years for the cork to grow back on the tree, she said.
Cork trees?
Oh, she makes stuff with cork fabric.
Oh, you do? Cork grows on trees. He said, cork. They peel the bark off the tree.
Don't you feel good about your screw top now?
I do. So where's the cork? Down the bottom? It's cork tree. Okay.
Look at you, you environmentalist. I like.
Pardon? I know, but I'm not. I've just revealed I'm very, very stupid. Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. The wine, as you were saying, is fantastic.
Wonderful. So, Preacher, I guess by its nature, both the comic and the show court a lot of controversy, particularly religious controversy, and I was wondering if that ever got you into trouble in your real life, either with like family or in the media, anything like that?
It hasn't yet, actually. I think it's always a touchy subject for anyone. I think it's a very hard one to broach, and I think people that do it are brave. I think people get very upset when comedians do it, and you can't, it's everyone to their own, whatever their beliefs or whatever they think. But I think it's always good to challenge anything in this world and in life. And this show, at the beginning, certainly didn't have an opinion on it. And it's just an idea, it's a concept, it's a comic. The comic was outrageous. Everything it said was outrageous. If you're going to get offended by anything, don't get offended by the ludicrous ridiculousness of this. I think, but it worries, because I didn't grow up particularly in a religious environment, although we all kind of did. We were influenced by it. There were prayers at school, and there were hymns, and there were things to help us through our life when needed. So I don't like to abuse it or abuse the people who believe in anything they want to believe in. But I think it's great to be part of something that challenges and questions and creates conversation. And that, for me, with any aspect of life or any aspect of anything, is good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question to you over there.
Hi, Mr. Kuber.
Hi.
I think the first movie I saw you in was The Devil's Double, which you were amazing in.
Oh, thank you.
Like twice. And I was wondering, did you ever get a chance to meet the real life double when you were preparing, or?
Yeah.
Oh, what was that like? Thank you.
The guy, The Devil's Double is a film about Saddam Hussein's son, Uday, and I play Uday and his body double. So Saddam's son, who was more awful than Saddam, had a son called Uday whose father made him get a body double who's called Latif, who they knew one another from school. And so I played, it was one of the early films where one actor would play both parts. So I played opposite myself, essentially. And Latif was where the story came from, a book that was written by Latif, who was the body double, who was basically put in place to protect the safety of Saddam's son, who was often, he was scared for him, people trying to kill him. Saddam had many body doubles. He wanted his son to have one. His son remembered a boy he was at school with, changed the shape of his jaw, changed his face, changed his nose, so that if he was driving around Iraq and someone tried to kill Uday, hopefully, they used to call them bullet catchers, the guy Latif would be caught. That particular guy I met many, many times while researching the film and just talking to him about his experience in Iraq. And it was quite hard to judge really what the actual truth behind it was, or the background, or the real story, because it was all, everyone who could tell the truth about it or who remembered it was actually not alive anymore. So it was his story. But it sounded horrific. No matter what it was, I certainly believe that he was chosen to be that man. I don't know how much he tried to reject it. He said he did. He said he didn't want to, but you couldn't reject a request from Saddam or his son. So he was forced into a very, very awful situation where he had to play out the role of a sadistic, murdering lunatic. And his life was ruined as a result of it. So, but he got out, and he ended up living in Ireland for a while. And America, I think, took him in for a while, and I'm not sure where he is now. But he was damaged by the time, and what he'd seen. You could see it was a man who had seen a lot of terrible things. But it was a honor to play him and to sort of relive reimagine the horror of what went on there, and so hopefully muster some belief and reason why that particular regime did have to be taken down. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question over here?
I don't even know anymore because I keep rethinking my question.
Okay, let's help you out.
I did want to say I had no idea you were British, so until you started talking, so you've done a great job.
That's good. That's good.
You got me.
That's good.
So
That's good
job.
too. That's two goods.
And I've rethought my questions. I'm not gonna ask them.
Not any of them.
Well, I don't know.
Come on.
I was gonna say like, where do you want to like visit in America? But then you were
it's
just
bad.
gonna say like Northwest, and I'm like, okay.
Do you know where I wanted to visit? I wanted to visit here. Yeah, no, I really did. This is a place I've always wanted to come to. But I took a walk to the water today. Where? Oh yeah, you are on fire, aren't you? The kid with the fireworks.
It's
right?
at least better. Yep, kid with fireworks.
But apparently it's not all bad. No, honestly, I think someone told me, you're probably in here earlier, so you told me, but it's good for the forest. It's not all bad. The forest will grow up bigger and better and stronger. Is that right? It sounds wrong, doesn't it?
There's an ish. I think it's just the
could that
shock
be
of
right?
it because so much of it burns so quickly, and it's
Did
very
anyone's
scenic.
houses go down?
They evacuated a bunch of places. I was actually out of town myself and flew back into it.
3.
No.
3. It's happening everywhere. I've just been in Italy on the Amalfi Coast, and it's all on fire. And they think there, I don't know whether I should say this out loud, but I will, that the fire, I don't know whether I should say this out loud.
Well, now you've got to say it. You can't do that. You can't be like, never mind.
Well, apparently I'll try and do it in code. So a certain type of person in Italy runs the fire department, right? Get me?
I'm with you.
Get me?
Tracking.
So they have a certain type of person, like the kid with fireworks, track me,
Uh-huh.
who is doing the thing that the kid did with the fireworks, because every time the fire brigade go out, they get paid each time.
Oh, that's terrible.
And because the fire brigade is paid by a certain type of person in Italy, know what I'm saying?
Fully picking up what you're putting down.
Terrifying, right? And they, in Italy, it was amazing. They had these planes that would come in and scoop. They'd come all the way down and scoop water from the surface and fly back out. You have those? Because you're on water here, right?
We're having a discussion about that right now, actually, yes.
My hand's still up there. And do you use them? Or you're thinking about it? What if you're a scuba diver? If you're scoobing, You get scooped.
Because he's been underwater. He is dive trained. It could happen.
That's what I was thinking.
They have a plan. But you know what?
They wouldn't know you were there. You just get scooped up and thrown in. Nuts to prevent it?
Nets. Water intake,
Top of
people
the
know.
what?
People know water, yes.
So you don't get sucked in, just cling onto the net. You're sort of like a fish. How does that work? If an aeroplane's coming at you at 200 miles an hour, the net is not going to save you. Is it? I'd prefer to be scooped in.
Well, it'll be one hell of a ride.
It
I
would.
have a question for you.
Yeah.
Since
Is that a
you're-
pipe?
Nope. That was not the question.
I bought a pipe today. They've got an amazing tobacco shop here. Have you seen it? Next to the hotel.
No.
The hotel. Like there's one.
But as I said earlier, this is not a bong or a pipe. You're not smoking weed in this.
Okay.
But I do want to invite you to give it a try. Should we think he should give this a try, you guys?
Which end do I put it in?
Okay. This is the end that goes on your mouth, and
Oh.
then I'm going to deliver the microphone to the other end, and there's no actor. Okay, so have you ever done this before?
Years ago.
Years ago. Okay, let's see.
I think that's pretty good.
I'll wait.
I have a really quick comment for him.
Do I have to show you the breathing? Oh. Softer. How'd you change the note?
Second voice.
I love it.
Where did I put my microphone?
Pardon? This smells of weed. You've been smoking
I have
weed,
not.
is
I
it?
know, absolutely not. You know, I'm going to tell you, it's not every day you get to say you've had Dominic Cooper play your didgeridoo. It'll be awkward. Oh, dude. No, it doesn't work so well. I would request, please, that you stand with me to take a selfie and then, nope, that. We are going to take a hard pass on that. That's hard pass, sir. Smile right, oh, with my didge. Hold it just like that, smile. That's one of those that's you wish you would have been there to understand. Dominic Cooper, everyone! You are amazing. I'll see you backstage. Just head out that way, so. Thank you.
I'll be a parachute, so let your heart go, so let your heart go.
I'll be back.
When you see ground rushing up at you.